those who may not know, in wrestling language, Babyface is a good guy. Heel is a bad guy. Tweener is someone in between. Babyface or heel. Cheyenne Bryant.
Queener,
Okay.
Queener. I'm not gonna pile on her like that, but I'm gonna just be real bad.
She is fine though.
But she fine, and that's like 25% of the reason I'm gonna give her a pass on this. That's my 25% of the reason. But look, Doc, look, I'm gonna just be real.
I'll
Look,
say 40% of the reason.
that's 25%, but I'm gonna just be real. Ain't a black person or person of color in the world that don't know where the fuck they degree at. It's somewhere in their mama house, their grandmama house, or somewhere in somebody's house sitting around. And they got that something gun somewhere, either hanging on a wall or in a chest somewhere with their other information at. I know where all four of my degrees are. They're at my mother's house right now, sitting in a sealed chest. All four of them. My master's degree will be sitting in there 2 years from now. So there's not a person in the world, especially a person of color, that does not know where the fuck their degree at as well as their transcript. A copy of my transcript is downloaded to my computer that I'm speaking from right now. I keep it on a computer just in case. I keep a copy of it on my phone just in case.
You got the
So
same phone like me.
yeah.
Great minds
So
think alike.
great minds think alike. So every person of color, whether you're black, Puerto Rican, every person of color whose ancestors know what it's like to struggle for a damn education knows where the hell their degrees at. They know where they damn high school diploma at. Hell, I still got my Head Start diploma in that same chest where my 4 degrees are. So I know where every diploma and every degree is. So time to produce them credentials, because guess what? If it was anybody else, we'd be asking them, where did you get your degree from? And we would expect them to produce those receipts and those credentials. So for you to say, I don't know, no, we would be asking for everybody else's stuff. So it's not a double standard here. They're just going to ask you, where did you get that degree from? Especially if you are out here giving relationship advice and you are claiming to be a doctor. You can't be and the thing is, if you're pretending to be a quote unquote doctor, that is an insult to a lot of other doctors who have gotten their doctorate degree. I know over 1,000 people. I myself, I know over 1,000 people. I've met over 1,000 people in my lifetime. A lot of those people are on Facebook. Well, never mind. I know 2,000 people. All 2,000 of my friends on Facebook. I know them personally. Either I met them in school, I met them in the army, I met them in some walk of life. I met them podcasting. I have met them. There's not one person on my Facebook that I have not personally have an encounter with. There's not been one. Everybody, every last one of them I have known and I've crossed paths with. Out of all of those 2,000 people that I know from my Facebook page, do you know how many doctors I know are from that list out of 2,000 people? One went to Spelman, the other went to Mercer. So out of 2,000 people that I personally have had an encounter with, I only know 2 doctors. That's 1% of the people that I know. And I'm nobody. I'm just the average Joe walking around. So put that into context of what you think. That just goes to show you how rare getting a doctorate degree is, much less a medical doctor. I know 2,000 people, only 2 doctors. That's 1%. That just goes to show you how rare it is. And the thing is, neither one of those people hesitate to tell people that they're a doctor. Both of them, when I see them in public, in passing, when I see them both, no matter where I see them, do you know what I say? What's up, doc? That's exactly what I call them. What up, doc? And then I keep moving. And ironically, both of those doctors that I know are black women. Both of them. One is a medical doctor, and the other one, she has a PhD. Both of them are doctors. And I can't and I know one more doctor's name is Dr. Holloman. I served with him. There's 3 doctors out of 2,000 people. That's 1%. Dr. Holloman, Sergeant First Class. I served with him back during Iraqi freedom. 3 doctors. 3. So guess what? They know where their degrees at. It's well known that they are doctors. So, and ironically, 2 of them are women, and 1 of them is a black man. And we address them as doctor, even when I see them in passing. And I know these guys. And when I see them in passing, I say, "What up, doc?" So with that being said, you faking the funk is an insult to those guys, in my humble opinion, because they worked damn hard in order for them to achieve that. They did something that I ain't finna do. I ain't nowhere near finna go to school another 8 more damn years in order to do that shit. No. That is a difficult task to do. So, guess what? You have every right to give relationship advice. We have people with less credentials than you giving relationship advice. But at the
Hell, there's
same
red
time,
pillars. They're actually giving advice,
oh,
and they
fuck
don't
them
really
dudes.
practice what they preach, which I'm
Fuck
gonna
them
get
dudes.
into
That
in
be all
just a
right.
second.
Man, fuck them dudes. They a bunch of, never mind. I'm not gonna say that.
No,
I'm
you
not
can
gonna.
you
I'm
can
not
say
a
it.
bunch of dudes that don't get no pussy anyway and trying to talk about women. So fuck them dudes. I'm just being real. None of that red pill bullshit. So
She's a
again,
tweener,
she's a
Doctor
tweener. She's a
Doctor
tweener.
Bryant.
Produce
Okay,
that diploma though. We want to see it. Not because we want to ridicule you, because we want. I think people think it's more ridicule, but the thing is, we want to have somebody who about what they talk about. There's so much phony shit going on the internet, in the damn political office, in the Oval Office. There's so much phony shit going on. We want to know that you're authentic about what you say. People
well,
are taking it as ridicule, but it's really, we want to know that
here's the
what you
reason
say is
why,
true.
champ. Here's the reason why Cheyenne Bryan went viral after stating she operates without a license, claiming that the only reason to hold one is to bill insurance. She defended her title by stating she is a quote psychology expert and life coach rather than a therapist, and thus does not require clinical licensing or board oversight. Okay, I'll say tweener with Dr. Cheyenne Bryant. Hell, I'll say it. Damn, she fine. She's fine. She fine. She's fine. She she is fine. She is a beautiful, sexy, gorgeous woman. So that's one of the reasons why I lean towards tweener. And she was also known. Remember, champ, she was a video vixen. Remember, she used to be in them B2K videos, music videos. For those who may not know, I'm gonna say tweener with Dr. Cheyenne Bryant. Now, look, does she need to stop calling herself doctor unless she can prove her credentials, her resumes? Because I've been to therapy offices as well as you, champ. They should have to show that type of stuff. Otherwise, people are gonna start questioning your credentials, and damn sure you can lose your job. And the other thing too with the doctors, they're not afraid or ashamed to hide their credentials or degrees. Why do you feel you don't need to? You have to. Because how are we supposed to believe or assume that you are a doctor? And again, champ, the last thing people don't despise a phony. And it looks pretty bad because you're claiming that you're a doctor, but when people are questioning your degrees and everything else, and if you don't want to show it, then how are we supposed to take you at your word? What makes your word credible? Credibility is everything, especially if something of that occupation. But just
Well,
because she,
show it. I mean, Shaq shows his off. He has an honorary doctorate.
but that's the thing. We will never know unless you can prove us otherwise. If you can prove it, and if it's certified, okay, then people like us can shut the fuck up. But I say tweener, champ, because look, just because she may not be a doctor, that doesn't mean she can't give advice. That doesn't mean she can't give her opinion. Hell, I'll say this. You say fuck them red pillars, I'll say fuck them red pillars as well. You know Myron Gaines from the Fresh and Fit podcast?
Yeah, the fake black man. Yeah,
You know, he did say that watching professional sports is one of the gayest things ever.
yeah. I mean, Hayden Windman is one of the gayest things ever. You
So, so,
know?
so us, so us, like ourselves, myself, Champ, Trent, BRF, Flash, everyone else who follows and covers sports, watching professional sports is one of the gayest things ever because we're sitting at home watching professional sports while we're eating pizza or whatever. That makes us gay. And look, for the record, we have no problem with anyone being gay, lesbian, bisexual, transgender, whatever. That's what you want to be, so be it. But I do think it's absurd, ridiculous that people like Myron Gaines are being able to have a platform and saying all this type of shit. Not only that, champ, they're also monetizing off of.
Again, man, I call that dude a fake black man. That dude want to say the N word and do all this other stuff, but when it's
No,
time,
no, he despises black people. I
no,
don't know if
that's
you
the
know.
thing. And
No, no,
but
no,
he
no.
claims to be black. That's the thing. He claims
Really?
to be black, but
Uh,
he's
wait, champ, are we sure? Because I don't know if you noticed in one of his live streams, he was wearing a KKK suit.
again, he claims to be black, much like Jason Whitlock, and he comes around. And the thing is, I always say this: guys like that to talk about guys who doing it's because they never were athletes. Me personally, I was an athlete. I was a professional. I was a amateur boxer. I know three forms of martial arts. Surprise. I know three forms of martial art. I know Chinese Goju Ryu, Shaolin, and Tonson Muay and I used to box. So I used to be an athlete, and I played offensive line, and I fought for my country. So if that makes me quote unquote gay, all right, whoop de doo. In the great words of Young Thug. So the thing is, guys like that always got something to say until they get into the room, until they get in the room, and then now they are all, they can't say anything. In the great words of a great man by the name of Ice T, you stupid ignorant. Don't even talk to me. In school, you drop math, science, and history. And then you get on the mic and try to act smart. But let me tell you one thing, you got heart. So again, you have no game. And then dude called you out about dude stealing your girlfriend or whatever. And guess what? You shut up then. You
Not
have
only that,
and then
his girlfriend even admitted that they haven't done anything.
exactly. So you out here, perpetrating the fraud. So I'm glad I'm not as big as I would like to be certain times because I'm like, bro, if you got all that mouth, let's take the Jake Paul route and get in the ring. So all of this nonsense that people be talking is dumb.
But the thing is,
You speak hatred upon women, you speak hatred upon people of color. You claim you're a person of color, but you speak ill will on them, but yet you have a platform, but yet we mad at Cheyenne Bryant.
but that's
Go
why I
figure.
said the double standard champ, and why I don't think Dr. Cheyenne Bryan should be canceled or should not be allowed to speak, because there are far worse other content creators. Myron Gaines, Sneeko,
Dumbass Andrew Tate.
Jason Whitlock.
Mhm.
People say a bunch of incoherent shit, but guess what? They're still able to monetize and get their money. The only people that really come so far to Cheyenne Bryant's defense is Amanda Seals and Dr. Umar Johnson. Dr. Umar Johnson basically said, I think it was the Art of Dialogue podcast, where he doesn't care really if Dr. Cheyenne Bryant is a actual doctor. He also claimed that black women are jealous of Cheyenne Bryant in terms of the success that she has as far as making money, the lavish lifestyle, her being sexy and attractive. I did not. The other problems I have with Dr. Cheyenne, I keep saying Dr. Cheyenne Bryant because I'm used to it, but Cheyenne Bryant, I did not like the video of her interrupting Torre. Remember the video I sent you, Champ, with Torre as they're about to wrap up the show, and Torre was being disrespected by Cheyenne Bryan by telling him, "I'm not your wife. I'm not your fucking wife," using profanity and type of stuff. If you are a doctor, if you're claiming to be a doctor, doctors don't act like that. They act more professional and courteous. I don't know too many, and you know doctors, Champ. Do they act like that?
Again, I don't have a problem with that because Torre is a world-renowned journalist.
Journalists.
I mean, he interviewed some of the all-time more controversial figures. I mean, and I'm talking about Suge Knight. So, you
He
know,
also interviewed R. Kelly.
I was really trying to skip over that, but
No, but no,
I was
can
really trying to skip over that, but
we one listen. I don't care. I don't care
I was trying. Funniest thing about what he said about Suge Knight is how smart and articulate this Suge was.
well, Suge no dummy.
Yeah,
I
Suge's
mean,
no
look,
dumb.
to say what you want about Suge Knight, but again, you've talked about it before, champ. Remember how he used his platform to bring awareness for Mother's Day? Suge was brilliant behind the scenes as far as negotiating deals and everything else.
Yeah, and he was a graduate of UNLV. Let's
Yes,
give credit for that. Shout out to UNLV, the Running Rebels. But yeah, I mean, he interviewed one of the more controversial figures of all time, and he said during that interview he asked him about a certain lawsuit that the late great Dick Gregory of Solar Records had, and a lot of uproar happened, and Suge asked him to rewind the whole tape from the beginning and told him to shut up. And literally, Suge Knight literally recapped everything that he said without Torre asking him not one question. And then when he got to the part right before the lawsuit, he said, "Now shut the tape off." He said, "You got your interview, now get out of here." And he shut that tape off, and he said he got gone. But Torre is a world-renowned journalist. I think that certain question that he asked Mr. Kelly, that I think that was
yeah,
yeah,
yeah, and then R. Kelly's response right after.
yeah. So I think that was one of the more I would say outrageous is, and I know that's not a word, the more outrageous uh interviews that he ever gave. But he's a world renowned journalist, and if he's wrapping something up, don't you ain't gotta act like that, man. I mean, you only act like that when you are in a defense mode. And from what I saw in the interview, it was not anything disrespectful as far as what Tori said. But these days it's all about narrative at this point. But I have no problem with it. But guess what? We want people think it's a mode to bring you down, but really we just want to see your credentials so we can say we're more proud. It's like, look, you talk the talk, you walk the walk, cool. It's all good. Like I said, if somebody asks me to produce my 4 degrees, they're right on the internet for you to see them. They're right on the internet for you. As a matter of fact, I give you the date to go to June 20th, 2024, 2025, excuse me. That is where you will go to find my degrees. And I graduated, ironically, less than 4 years after I got my first two. So you'll find every last one of them between the month of May and the month of June, between the years of 2020 and 2025, on my Instagram page because I posted them all. I even posted my certification that I got from college. That's how come you called me the 5-time college champion, because guess what? I not only got 4 degrees, I have a certification in network administration. So guess what? I can produce that and you can stand by it. And people always think, well, some y'all hating. No, we want to know that you about what you're talking about and you about what you preach about, not all this other nonsense. And once you produce it, hey, I'm gonna just be real. Somebody asked me to produce my degree or anything else, any other credential that I got, I'm gonna put it up where you can see it just on the premise of shutting you the hell up. I'm not gonna waste your time. Produce a degree. There you go. You want to see the GPA too? 3.2. Surprise. So yeah, I'm gonna produce it just off the strength of making you shut the hell up and making you eat your words. And I think that's what I want to see Dr. Cheyenne Bryant do. Just shut them up. So that way they can't say nothing. That's just
Well,
the logical thing to do.
well, that is the logical thing to do. But the fact that you're unwilling to do it, then what does it say about you? It tells us that you're pretty suspicious because most doctors are unafraid to share their degrees or resumes. They're not afraid. And plus, they look at it as a badge of honor. And with Cheyenne Bryant, are you really practicing what you preach? And plus, remember, she's been received a lot of criticism from podcasts that she's been on, particularly Cam Newton. Remember him and Corey Holcomb, the conversation that they had about Dr. Cheyenne Bryant?
Cora can't say anything because
No, Corey. Look, you may say he can't say anything, but he even said, "Hey, where's her resume? Where's her degrees?" He's saying exactly what you said, champ.
yeah, where your resume? I mean, hell, somebody get it. Hey, look, man. When one of my brothers got his barber's license, we hung that shit up in grandma's house. When you accomplish something, you're proud of it, and we want you to be proud of it, man. We don't look. People always think that when we ask you to produce something, we hate. No, we want to be proud. We want to be proud. Hell, I'll never forget when you told me that you have 2 degrees. I'm like, damn, for real? I'm like, that's something to be proud of.
I have
You
one
want,
actually.
yeah, 1, 2, hell, the bell. I'm. That's not the point. But you told me you had one. Cool. I'm proud of you. You have one. I have one. We some smart motherfuckers. Let's be some smart motherfuckers together. So let's just be real. We want to be proud. And like I said, when you talk about people of color, black people, Haitian, brown people, Mexican, Puerto Rican, you name it, how disenfranchised we were for so long as far as education, basic education goes. There's not a person in the world who doesn't show their high school diploma and their degree. Guess what? I mean, and even your high school diploma, you got to show your high school diploma now. So yeah, you got to show it.
No,
And
no, she has to.
just off the premise of shutting people up, just here you go.
But at the end of the day, whether she is not a licensed doctor or not, I don't think just because she may not be that, that doesn't mean that she can't give advice or
Yeah,
can't
you can
speak
give
what's on her
advice.
mind. Because, like I said, there are a bunch of other content creators who say a bunch of dumb shit, like Myron Gaines and Sneeko. And hell, look, Jada Pinkett Smith had the Red Table Talk, and she was trying to act like she's a medical expert. So my thing is, if people could do that, then Cheyenne Bryant could do this. So that's why I say tweener, because at the end of the day, look, it's bad enough people are questioning your credibility as a doctor, but I don't think it's to the point where you are unqualified to say what's on your mind. Just prove, just show us the degrees or the receipts, and if you can do that, and if it's certified, then people won't question you anymore.
You see
Now,
that bikini photo though?
far better than Joy Taylor, but that's a story for another
That's a
day.
story for another day. Boy, still the same peanut butter, but still,
Well,
just
hers is more caramel.
yeah, honey.
But speaking of Suge Knight, because you mentioned the Suge Knight, Master P, Babyface,
Babyface.
smart, former NBA, used to play for tried to play for the Toronto Raptors, but the thing I always respected and admired about Master P, other than the fact that most other rappers got into legal issues, he did not. And Snoop Dogg, he was on his podcast, I think, Arian Foster's podcast or radio show, and he talked about the discrepancy between how Suge Knight and Master P handled business. When Suge Knight handled business, the house, the cars, everything else under Suge Knight's name. Snoop talked about how in No Limit, this house is in your name. These cars are in your name. Any other property is under your name. He was educating him and teaching him the business. Also, he helped out Snoop as far as with No Limit because at that point it was hell for him in Death Row during those later stages of years. Dr. Dre, he departed from Death Row from I think March of 1996. Months later, the assassination of Tupac Shakur. Then Suge Knight going to prison for a probation violation. So Snoop at that time was lost. And Master P brought him in. Of course, make them say,
Uh-huh.
na 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 na. The Southern rap music, what he means to New Orleans, the pillar of the community. And look, Master P proved that you know what, you can still be about hip hop, but you can also still be about business. You can also still be about education, do a lot of great things for your community. And again, Master P Champ, he may not, he's the Southern version of MC Hammer. He's the Southern version of MC Hammer because Hammer, I thought way too many times he got a bad rap from the rap community and the black community because people labeled him a sellout and a fraud. But nah, Hammer was still true to his colors from the streets of Oakland, still did a lot of great things for the communities and stuff like that. And with Hammer, has Hammer gotten to any legal issues, like any charges or anything like that? No. And that's how I look at it with Master P. Master P is about business. Master P is about education. Master P is about evolution. And considering what Snoop talked about and what a lot of people have talked about with Master P, I say Babyface.
Babyface, undisputed Babyface. Now them shoes was ugly as hell. That's how come I say them. That's how come.
They're
That's how
not as
come
ugly as them Trump sneakers.
not as ugly at all. But there's a reason why. Shout out to Lloyd Banks because that's where I got it from. I'm gonna give credit where credit is due. Shout out to New York. That's why I always say it's about to get uglier than the Masterpiece sneakers. No, look, I got the hookup was great.
That was a
Bottom
good
Garbage
movie.
was great.
I didn't mind Uncle P.
Yeah, Uncle P. I mean, Hot Boys was
Yes.
great. There's a lot of look. I'm gonna just be real. Foolish was great. Funny story. Foolish was about Eddie Griffin's life. He gave Eddie Griffin $1 million for the script from Foolish. Do you know why? Doing a comedy show that Eddie Griffin had down south. I forget what state it was in. I don't think it was in New Orleans. I think it was in Mississippi somewhere. Master P asked, can he open up for him? Can he open up for Eddie Griffin doing one of his comedy shows? He said, yeah. Years later, Master P made it big, paid him $1 million for the script for Foolish. Master P did it his own way. He got a distribution deal. And he wrote the book on how to handle business from that standpoint. He did his own promotion. He did his own CD. The only thing that the record label had to worry about was distribution. He set the groundwork for labels like, Rockefeller, like Cash Money, like Murder Inc. He laid the groundwork for places like that. He owned 90% of everything. The label was only responsible for distribution. And he sold CDs for $19 a pop. And he was bringing out 20 albums a year on his label. 20 albums a year, and you and your label get all the money. And the parent label only gets 10%. It's a 90-10 deal. Something unheard of. You flipped you did your albums much like you did your movies. All independent, Body, independent, Hot Boys, independent. I got the hookup, independent. Did you know that Foolish, the movie starring him and Eddie Griffin, beat Star Wars in the box office.
Didn't know that.
Yeah, they beat Star Wars in the box office. Did you know the first rap mogul to be involved in sports was who?
Master P.
Master P. And people criticized him for Ricky Williams' contract, but people don't understand Ricky Williams asked for that contract. He was negotiating for Ricky Williams to be the highest paid running back in the league. He was negotiating for him to be the highest paid running back in the league. Ricky Williams said, "No, we're not going to do that. People complain about athletes. We're going to go with a basic deal, and I'll make up for the rest of it in incentives." Unfortunately, he didn't get those incentives. But the first guy who owned everything, produced his own records, produced his own music videos, executive producer of every single album, Beats by the Pound. And I mean some hits too. It wasn't no bullshit coming out of No Limit.
No, he
It wasn't no
founded the
bullshit coming out
label
of No
back in
Limit.
he founded the label back in 1991, dominated during the late 90s, sold for over 35 million albums in a 4-year span, including with Snoop, Mystical, and his brother, Sick the Shocker. He turned a $10,000 insurance settlement into a $200 million entertainment and business empire.
Yeah.
He has released 15 studio albums and sold over 75 million records. And he successfully coached AAU teams, including the P. Miller Ballers, mentoring several players who advanced to the NBA.
Everything that we give these northern artists for, and we pay them homage, is Master P did it first.
Yes.
When you think about the movie that Dame Dash did, Paid in Full, when you think about him doing State Property, guess what? Master P laid the groundwork for shit like that years ahead of time. He was years ahead of his time in rappers creating not only just their CDs, but their movies. Master P had his own clothing line before everybody else did. It was essentially the first, No Limit was the first record label, in my humble opinion. It wasn't just a label, it was a brand. Everybody was rocking the No Limit charm. Everybody was, wanting to be a No Limit soldier. The thing was about the Mile High Salute, it started off with them wanting to be the No Limit soldier. So Master P is and not to mention he got his hands in a little bit of everything now. Got his hands in chips, food, a little bit of everything now. And unlike a lot of rap moguls that we heard about in the 90s, that, like to your point, that we've heard about nowadays that, have had scandal, that have had everything, those guys who moved on, they was able to make money outside of P till they got in trouble. One P fault that they got in trouble, but they was able to make money outside of what they was doing. So guess what? When Snoop Dogg left No Limit, he was in a better position than when he first went to No Limit. It took him a couple million in order to get out of the contract with Death Row. Now he's worth over 200 million himself. So when you talk about what rappers are able to do nowadays, Master P deserves a hell of a lot of credit for laying that groundwork, for doing independent movies, doing independent shows, making it so where you don't have to be up under the thumb of a major record label. He had his own buses to advertise. He didn't need Hollywood in order to flip his CDs or his movies. All of this stuff did independent. It was independent. Even with his show and everything. I mean, he was a household name from Louisiana. And the thing is, he did all of that differently because he wasn't necessarily considered the greatest rapper. When you think about rap moguls who were moguls, they were the best. Some of them were the best rapper. When you think about Jay-Z, him being a mogul, He was a hell of a rapper. Master P wasn't necessarily the best rapper, but he was the best businessman, arguably, in the history of hip hop. He outlived, his legacy outlived every single record label of the 90s. He outlived Death Row. He outlived Bad Boy. He outlived Rap a Lot. He outlived Rockers. He outlived every single record label that was in the only three record labels that are left standing from the 90s right about now to this day is the Aftermath, No
Yes,
Limit, and Def Jam. Those are the only three. And the thing is, he laid the
because a lot
foundation.
of the reason why because a lot of those artists from the Death Row and the Bad Boy labels, unfortunately, they got into their own legal issues,
Yeah,
and subsequently they had to move on from that. But Master P was able to maintain it, and he knew that there was business for him besides just rap, champ. Whether I mean, look, he can make something out of nothing. The business. Look, the only thing he did wrong was them shoes.
yeah. The only thing he did wrong was them ugly ass shoes, in the great words of O.J. Simpson. But
But
the great words of O.J. Simpson. But but
but outside of that, he did a lot of good for his community business. He showed people that hey, you don't have to necessarily have to be a great MC. You don't necessarily have to be tough. You can like handle things and make a ton of money by handling business. So business savvy mind, he's definitely up there. And I think I call him the Southern MC Hammer because I don't think he's gotten enough credit or recognition because a lot of the things that he's done with the business and the communities.
yeah. And look, like I said, the only reason why I don't think that a lot of guys like him, Jermaine Dupri, even Slim from Cash Money, I really don't think they get a lot. I really think it's that Southern bias. I really do. Because if you look at Cash Money, when you look at No Limit, when you look at a lot of other things, a lot of the major record labels who really had their hand in hip hop, a lot of them started from down south. Look at Rap a Lot, down south. When you look at So So Def, major pillar of hip hop, Southern Lake.
South Atlanta.
When you look at No Limit, major staple, down south. So a lot of the record labels when hip hop was at its peak was from down south. But because they're from the south and us southerners are not looked at as educated or as business savvy as our west coast or east coast or northern or New York counterparts, we don't necessarily get the credit for that. When you look at what Jermaine Dupri did, when you look at what Baby and Slim did, when you look at what even 3 6 Mafia, 8 Ball MJG, when you look at a lot of the Southern pioneers, Jay Prince, a lot of those guys, they don't get the credit that they necessarily deserve, I believe, because of Southern bias.
That does play a role because eventually but well, because again with the South, I think to all the reasons that you mentioned, champ. But still, he did change the style for Southern hip hop, gave it a little bit more flair and recognition. But business, what can you say? And I think, and like I said with Snoop, teaching Snoop that you can own your own property, these houses, these cars, everything else. How do you think Snoop learned about the business side? Master P.
If you ever notice something about Southerners, though, Jermaine Dupri, Baby, Slim, a lot of those guys, I say Jay Prince was probably the only exception. Shout out to Mr. Prince, by the way, the boogeyman from down south, I would say. You ever notice them guys don't be getting in trouble?
Well, that's because they're mild mannered, and like I said, with the
Down
South,
south, because down south, we know damn better. Shit, down south.
why do you think I try to tell you all this time I want to move out of New York, New Jersey?
Hey, down south, bro, look, listen. When you from down south, there's a level of consciousness that you have to realize that the rooms that you're walking into, a lot of times, although they're smiling at you, you're not wanted there. And Master P, Jay Prince, Jermaine Dupri, Baby, Slim, all of those guys have said that at one time or another. Although you're making a lot of these labels a shit ton of money, guess what? A lot of these rooms, you have to realize you're not wanted there. So guess what? When you realize that the minute that you walk into this room, although you making money with this, you got to realize this is a business and they cannot wait to take your ass out of position in order to do your business because eventually you're going to be making more money than they are. Like I said, they brought Master P into the office and said, why are you bringing out all these albums? Why are you bringing out 20 albums a year? And he said, how much do you own? How much is this deal worth? He said, it's 9 to 10. He said, so I can bring out as many albums as I want to. Again, we down south, we realize when you walk in a lot of these rooms, just because you're welcomed into the room doesn't mean they want you there.
Well, that's
And if,
because they're
and if
looking at
you
it from
can't
a
read between the lines on that one, shame on you.
well, that's because champ. At the end of the day, competition, and they know eventually at some point they're going to be out of business, or somebody's going to eat off of their plate. But Master P was willing to do that. Matter of fact, do you remember the story, the Death Row Chronicles on BET? How much he was willing to offer Suge in order for Snoop to be out of Death Row?
$3 million. $3 million in order to get him off that label. And he made double the money, and Snoop made double the money and some more back ever since that time. And again, like I said, guys, say what you want to about Baby, Slim, any of these guys down south. Well, like I said, with the exception of Jay Prince, shout out to Mr. Prince, because we all know that he the boogeyman. But those guys you never hear about them in any trouble like that. You might hear about a little bit of rap beef here and there, but as far as trouble is concerned, you being involved in parties or any other that nonsense, they don't play that nonsense. And like I said, when you are a Southerner, especially a black Southerner, there's a degree of consciousness that you have that although you are invited into these rooms and you are welcomed into these rooms, you're not necessarily wanted in those rooms. And when you realize that, you quickly realize, okay, I have to tread carefully. Yeah, I'm making all of this damn money, but there's somebody in this room that can't wait to dig up some damn dirt on me so they can take it from me. In the great words of Dr. Dre, as hard as you work to get your money, there's at least about 5 to 6 people itching to get it from you. And I will say this about a lot of Southern moguls and a lot of Southern artists. A lot of them cats. Look at Outkast, Scott Free. A lot of these Southern artists, they'll go around here getting in trouble. Trouble. Hey, you try to look, when you from down south, you try to get a parking ticket in certain counties. You're just being real.
I know, but I still told you I'd rather move down south.
Hey, I will tell you this: if you ever move to Atlanta, don't speed through Coweta County.
No, 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 no. My thing is, champ. The reason why I like moving down south, well, for one, the good food, and look, I don't bother anybody. I don't like to be bothered. I'm not gonna bother anybody. I just feel like just give me my space. I give you your space. That's about it. I'm not gonna get into fights or anything like that. I'm just like the type of person that just likes his space, his peace. That's really about it. That's how I look at it. And I just treat people the way I want to be treated. If motherfuckers in New York treat people down south, it's gonna be a problem, especially when they come down south. My whole thing is, look, just treat people the way you want to be treated. That's how I look at it.
Like I said, man, big up the Master P, man. You did your thing, and a lot of your clothes was affordable too, man. Look, my dad didn't like it, but I bought me a couple of Master P t-shirts, the No Limit Soldier t-shirts, the
Good,
No Limit Soldier, yeah.
good. You should. You good.
So
Good. You should. If your
so
parents have a problem with it, look, tell them, look, man, hey, let me
yeah, I was a
live.
little kid during the time, but like I said, you know this for a fact. My dad wasn't with all the what he called the funnies. My dad was real no nonsense. So wearing all that didn't necessarily fit the mold for him.
But then again, on the same breath, your father also told you them dudes who wearing them suits in courtroom.
They were criminals. And that's what it goes back to. You're not necessarily wanted in them rooms because them other dudes are criminals. So
There you go. But hey, there you go. All right. Next one, as far as with Babyface or Heel, I think he's a pure babyface. Dwayne Wade.
Wayne Wade is a pure babyface, man, and I applaud him for every way that he's conducted himself over the years, especially with his children, especially with his children and how he was able to teach everybody a lesson in how his son, or now daughter, transitioned.
Zarya.
Zaria, sorry, excuse me, sorry about that. I meant no disrespect, but he showed everybody in the transition on how to respond, and him and Magic. But I really respect those guys because they were able to show the world an example
Zaya, I'm
of
sorry. I'm sorry. Zaya Wade.
Zaya Wade. So I'm look, I commend those men. Not everybody has the courage to do those things, man. Some people disown their children. Some people act foolish when their children don't do something they don't agree with. They were able to say, "Hey, we're gonna embrace this." All right. And like I said, they was an example to a lot of people on how to handle yourself. Love your people even if you don't agree, or if you agree, embrace your people. You know what I'm saying? So guess what? I'm glad that Dwayne Wade was that. Plus, he was like that as a basketball player. If it had not been for injuries, we're talking about him as one of the, even with the injuries, he's still the top three shooting guard all time.
Only behind MJ and Kobe.
We're gonna have MJ and Kobe. So
But
Dwayne
but
Wade,
but but but, but hold on. I'm gonna hold your big ass feet to the fire because remember we did have a conversation on our pod not too long ago about Harden or D Wade. You went with James Harden. How do you feel about that now?
I still stand behind that because guess what? I'm gonna just be real. During the regular season, you couldn't touch Harden, and like I stated, at certain points there was three people marching to be the best player as far as the MVP in the league. As far as being the MVP of the league, there was three players in the late 2000s marching towards MVPs from like 2015 all the way to 2020. That was LeBron, Steph Curry, James Harden. They were the most efficient, they were the most talented, and they were racing to that MVP race every single year. And people are going to talk about the Mike D'Antoni offense and how that made James Harden a lot better than what it was. But guess what? He was electrifying when he was at his peak. He was electrifying. And so I like I said, I'm still taking Harden as far as, and people might disagree with me, but that's okay. That's the nature of the beast. That's the nature of sports.
But
That,
no, it's not. That's not the end of the world, champ. I mean, come
but
on.
yeah,
It's
I'm
not
still
like Paul
taking James
Pierce. It's
Harden.
not like Paul
At
Pierce saying he's better than Dwayne Wade.
peak for peak, look, peak for peak. I'll say peak for peak. Peak for peak. James Harden over Dwayne Wade. Peak for peak. And if you look at
That's
the
fine.
peak, not just with your emotions, but if you look at the peak James Harden in the Mike D'Antoni offense with uh with Mike D'Antoni, and even when he first got to Houston, when Dwight Howard was injured
The year
on
when
the team.
yeah, remember people forgotten he was the runner up for the league MVP behind Steph Curry and the NBA, the Players Awards. They voted James Harden the league MVP.
Yes,
But which is why with Patrick Beverly, I didn't have much of a problem with what he said about James Harden being better than Dwayne Wade. Now, do I agree? No, because you have to look at both ends of the court as well, too, champ. I'm sorry. James Harden on defense,
he was a liability.
to say he's a liability, I mean, dude was on cones. I mean, it's kind of like somebody having a hard time roller skating. That's how he was when it came to defense, champ. And he was pretty much lackadaisical on the defensive side of the court. I'm sorry, but I'm being totally 100. But back to Dwayne Wade, I say he's a babyface because of the reason that you mentioned with Zayat Wade. It's not easy. And you also mentioned with Magic Johnson, him and Magic Johnson are the perfect examples. Both of them believe in the Lord, both of them believe in God and Jesus, but at the same time, they're okay with accepting their child or whoever, whether they're lesbian, bisexual, transgender, whatever. That's one of the reasons why last week on my pod champ, I called Tony Dungy a tweener, because despite all the great things he's done for his community and what he's done for players, I can't get over the pack. I can't get over the fact with what he has said about the LGBTQ community.
Especially with the
That's
cat litter thing.
to which you were even totally shocked.
Yeah, that shit shocked the hell out of me. Like, what the hell are we talking about here? But
But my
yeah,
thing, but not only Dwayne Wade, you also have to give credit to Gabrielle Union Wade.
yeah. Yeah, you got to give credit to all that. Like I said, it takes a lot of courage, man. Like I said, look, a lot of people disown their damn kids when you do so much as you go to a damn school. The reason why I admire them is this: a lot of people disown their damn kids, especially as
And
our
you know
kids.
how kids are nowadays with school. They will, oh my God,
If you
they'll
go
pick
to a
them.
school that their parents don't agree with, if you go to damn hell, we saw it on the Will Smith show. Hell, if you want to go to Harvard instead of Princeton, then your parents want to disown your ass. Much less take a step that big and make a decision that big in your life. You know what I mean? So for you to support your child during that time when it's not necessarily the most popular decision in the world, especially with these goofballs running around here like they is, you know what I'm saying? That takes a lot of courage. So I admire him for that.
I do too. But definitely top three shooting guard of all time. Also the sacrifices he made in Miami, even though LeBron had to be LeBron in order to win those championships, it doesn't discount D Wade. And no matter how respected LeBron is in Miami, it's nothing compared to Dwayne Wade.
Wait, yeah. I mean,
Wade County, as they call it. And I just love a lot of things that he's meant, especially to his hometown in Chicago. And him and Gabrielle Union, the position that they took by supporting Zaya's decision, that's huge to me. And I think it hits us, particularly us as Black people, champ, because again, I feel like when it comes to coming out, being gay, lesbian, whatever, I think we're concerned about the criticism that we may receive from our communities. But for them to come forward and be so strong and adamant about it, that is saying something. So I
like
commend
I
Dwayne
said, you
Wade for
go to
that.
the wrong school that people don't agree with you doing going to. People gonna criticize your ass for that so much. That's something that big, man. So and he dealt with the criticism and fought it off. So, that's something that a lot of people don't have the strength to do, man. When you're going against the masses at a certain point, it's a
That's
heavy
huge,
burden. It's a heavy burden.
but easily babyface.